Hey friends. Oh, I'm in this beautiful Santa Fe garden behind my parents' house, um, having just spent a couple of hours working in the heat. Lots of fun. Nothing like an extreme UV day to make your work on the exterior of a sunroom super enjoyable. But I think I'm okay. I think I've made it. I have come to the other side of the river, and something that shows up for me today is, I had to go get my wrist looked at this morning, and I have had it's been 3 or 4 weeks now since I actually sustained the injury, and it's taken me this long to get looked at just because initially I wasn't sure I was going to need to. Then little by little I sort of got the feeling it would be a good idea, but we were coming back from Michigan, and there was lots of balls in the air, and it wasn't a super urgent thing, so I kind of let it go. And so all that time, and I've spoken about this in several of my previous video posts, all that time I've had this chance to reflect on both the experience of the injury itself as a physical sensation, as a physical event, and also work with the emotions around it and the feelings that come up when I think about having an injury in a very delicate part of my body that I use in a very, that I sort of make high demands on every single day through the work that I do at the piano. I've had time to marinate in that and just receive that information, and to kind of reflect on that and assume that this is a nudge from the universe in a kind of positive direction. But that takes some deciphering. It's when we receive an injury and we know it's helping us, we have to sort of make those things connect in some way. A lot of times it's not something we can actively do, like I'm going to stitch this together mentally and figure out why it's actually good, but even if it doesn't feel good, I'm going to figure out, the mind doesn't do it. It's the body itself that generally has a kind of imprinted higher wisdom, and I would say even more significantly, our spirit, our consciousness, already knows what's going on, already knows, already has the connection in a way. So we don't need to make the connection with our mind. We just need to receive the connection. We just need to let that impression land with us. We need to, the only way I've ever figured out how to do this is to stop the mind from moving. Meditate, relax, do nothing, so that we can hear the subtler sounds of an inner wisdom that actually already knows the answers to some of these questions, and that doesn't need to be doggedly pursued, and which in fact will escape every time if we pursue it like we're tracking something, like a bloodhound, or hunting an animal. That image, that idea of like actively pursuing, in my experience, if we're operating on this level, then we're going to repel the answers that we need. Whereas simply creating space, simply backing up, settling. And things can start to show up. You know, in the case of this injury, the first thing I receive is that rather than being fixed on a kind of long-term outcome that's not even really a clear outcome, it's kind of an undefined outcome. You know, I've pursued piano in a way with a kind of nebulously defined goal. And as a result, because I'm not heading for something that I know what it is and where it is, I can wind up being seduced by the feeling of progress that piano practice gives me. And I was talking to my brother about this yesterday. There's also something about the practice of an instrument that's so unquestionable. It's so infallible as a pursuit that we have to have a pretty subtle level of awareness in order to be able to say, that's misspent energy. Not that the practice overall is misspent energy, or that any amount of practice, any degree of development on the instrument would be misspent energy, but investing as much energy as I've been investing without knowing where it's going, doesn't matter how much progress I make. It leaves open-ended, allows me to make infinite progress, essentially, without ever really going anywhere, because there's no intention behind where it's all leading to. And that's something that I've had to kind of reckon with. And again, coming back to my injury is kind of like my body saying, nope, stop. Stop the presses. You can't do that anymore. And so I wouldn't say that I've fully received all the lessons that this has to teach me, but that simple reframe that goes from I'm afraid of having something taken away from me that's very important to me, into a perspective that acknowledges this injury is helping me let go of something that actually is not serving me, and it's in a way forcing my hand. It's in a way forcing my hand. It's in a way forcing me to redirect my attention. It's taking me. It's basically cutting off the avenue that was my kind of, what's the word for like a false healing, or a kind of like, it's like a band-aid, or it was like my distraction, my favorite distraction. Cutting off that avenue of energy, and as a result, you know, I was doing posts less than a week ago talking about Dark Night of the Soul. Where am I headed? What am I going to do? I sensed an energy build up, and I had nowhere to go. And it was like, well, what am I going to do with this? There's an urgency, an intensity of pressure building, and it felt like I had no, you know, and I can virtually guarantee that if I'd had my hand in a healthy state, I would have gone to the piano and learned a Chopin etude or something really where I could have afterwards been like, I mastered something. That feels like progress. I did it. I'm evolving. But my intention and my deeper direction in life would be right in the same place. Wouldn't have moved at all. So I went and got checked out at the urgent care. And this is the level on which I've been working with my injury. And suffice it to say, the American medical system doesn't go to that level of depth in either diagnosing or engaging with an injury. I do think I've got a referral to somebody who can tell me a little more, a specialist who can tell me really kind of what's happening in there. I do need someone who knows the hand anatomy to tell me what's up. But it was like, I could barely, what I said, what I described as far as the history of this injury and what's happened to me, I didn't even go into any of the deep stuff. I was just talking about like physically how it has felt. It was almost like blank stare. They were like, do you want a prescription? Do you want pain meds? What do you want? That was the look on her face was like, what do you want? You want me to wrap this with an ace bandage? And she wrapped it at the end with an ace bandage. And I was like, I don't need an ace bandage. I was working construction yesterday and it was fine. So it was a bit of a hilarious moment. But I should know more soon from a hand specialist who actually might be able to tell me something. But what the other thing that taught me is I'm doing the work. If I want to heal, then I'm already doing the thing I need to be doing in order to get this. In order to take this injury and integrate it into my not just physical body, but my overall spiritual journey in a way that heals me. That's all I can do. I'm doing the work, and I cannot go to a doctor to do that. There's no such thing. Not in this day and age, not in this culture, not in this country. I don't know if in any country. But the highest healing has to come from our own conscious engagement with the injury. There's no other way. What would be nice would be if there were people who were very, very highly trained in the medical, disciplines who kind of understood that and came from that perspective, and I know that there are. I even know a couple of them. But even then, all they can do is advise. They're kind of like spiritual teachers. Here are the paths you can go. Here are the tools you can use. Here are some of the results you can expect if you go each of these different ways. But they can't make you pick up a tool, or they can't make you walk a path. All they can do is maybe give you some energetic adjustment, create some palliative healing, and inform and hopefully inspire the individual to take healing into their own hands. So that's what showed up today, folks. I feel like it's fitting that I'm in this beautiful blue sky backdrop as I'm talking about healing ourselves. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.